Okay, last video got stopped, and so I'm going to finish this because we were already at the end of it, and I'm getting ready to start reading from chapter 21. But I want to say, if you didn't watch the previous video, you should watch the previous video before you watch this one, okay? Because it's preparatory. It's very important that you understand what I expressed in that last video, okay? And the last video stopped short of the last thing that I was going to make a point of. And this is the essential point of everything that I had said in that last video. Nichiren's revolution is this: all 6 stages exist simultaneously in one moment of life, but only through practice does the identity of Buddhahood become dominant. Risoku explains why all living beings attain the Buddha nature. Kukyo Soku explains what. And Nam-myoho Renge-kyo explains how, okay? And nothing is outside the mind, nothing is outside the body, nothing is outside this moment, and this is actual Ichinen Sanzen, which I wanted to get out before I start reading 221. Now we're going to go to 221. And all the 28 chapters of the Lotus Sutra are Nam-myoho Renge-kyo, and you're going to hear everything that I just talked about repeated theoretically from the perception of how he's qualifying this then. So on page 221, it's going to start with a reference from Words and Phrases from Tiantai, volume 10. In the very beginning, it says, the Sutra as a whole is summed up in these 4 phrases. Down here in this asterisk, it's going to qualify those 4 phrases. We've repeated them once before. I'm going to repeat them again now as it pertains to this explication by the Daishonin. These 4 phrases refers to the following 4 phrases in the passage from chapter 21, Supernatural Powers. This is when Shakyamuni says, to put it briefly, all the doctrines possessed by the Thus Come One, the principle of name, all of the freely exercised supernatural powers of the Thus Come One, the principle of function, the storehouse of all the secret essentials of the Thus Come One, the principle of essence, and 4, all the most profound matters of the Thus Come One, the principle of quality. All these are proclaimed, revealed, and clearly expounded in this sutra. He's qualifying that in the Supernatural Powers chapter to reinforce the fact that his highest teaching has already been expressed in the previous chapters of the Lotus Sutra that he's just now finishing. He's on chapter 21. At this point in time, he transfers the essence of the sutra, these 4 phrases, the essence of Nam-myoho Renge-kyo, to the Bodhisattva superior practices, and it's held and sustained until the 5th 500-year period when the Bodhisattva superior practices emerges as Nichiren to express all of this in the form of Nam-myoho Renge-kyo. So, starting on page 221. Words and Phrases, volume 10 says, the sutra as a whole is summed up in these 4 phrases that I just read. These 4 represent the essence of the sutra. The Buddha hands it on to others. That's when he handed it on to the bodhisattvas of the earth. The record of the orally transmitted teaching says the sutra as a whole refers to the 28 chapters of the Lotus Sutra. So not just 1 through 21, but 1 through 28. The essential teaching and the theoretical teaching, the first 14 chapters and the second 14 chapters. These 4 phrases refer to the 4 principles of name, as I just mentioned, function, as I just mentioned, essence, as I just mentioned, and quality, as I just mentioned. The essence of the sutra refers the essence of the sutra. What was transferred to Bodhisattva superior practices was the essence. The essence of the sutra refers to the 5 characters of the Daimoku. Hand it on to others means handing it on to Bodhisattva superior practices. It refers to Myoho Renge-kyo, Nam-myoho Renge-kyo, the simultaneity of cause and effect, the teaching of the simultaneity of cause and effect. The passage of this passage of the commentary is perfectly clear. Now when Nichiren and his followers propagate Nam-myoho Renge-kyo, this is the principle of essence or heart. Just like you know that President Ikeda wrote the heart of the Lotus Sutra. The heart of the Lotus Sutra is the essence or the Yeah, I'll think of it in a second here as I'm trying to read and keep my mind straight. The 28 chapters of the Lotus Sutra are the principles of function. So in other words, they're not the essence. They're not Nam-myoho Renge-kyo is not on the surface of any of those 28 chapters. Okay, so they function, they're the essence of function, while the heart is Nam-myoho Renge-kyo. The true aspect of all phenomena is what I was trying to qualify. That's what's now being clarified as Nam-myoho Renge-kyo. The recitation of any of the 28 chapters is a supplementary practice, which means we recite the 20 morning Gongyo. That's a supplementary practice. That's from this Expedient Means in the Lifespan chapter, the 2nd and 16th chapters. The Daimoku, the recitation of the Daimoku is the main practice. So the main practice in the latter day of the law, when this comes forth with the emergence of the teaching hidden in the depths that was transferred from Shakyamuni to Bodhisattva superior practices, which Nichiren says was the teaching of Nam-myoho Renge-kyo, that's what's now expressed in the latter day, and that's what we focus on. The supplementary practice is included within the main practice. So again, these recitations of the chapters from the 28th chapter Lotus Sutra are supplementary to the main practice of chanting the Daimoku of Nam-myoho Renge-kyo, and are actually contained within the Daimoku of Nam-myoho Renge-kyo. So the key for you to remember is that, just like as I've said many times, saying Nam-myoho Renge-kyo once is the equivalence of reading the entire 28 chapters of the Lotus Sutra multiple times. And that's what he just qualified as fact. Okay? Regarding the Immeasurable Meaning Sutra. So you get no extra points or great merit from reading the Lotus Sutra. In reality, reciting the Lotus Sutra. Focus on Daimoku. It's the latter day of the law. You're a disciple of Nichiren, the Buddha of the latter day of the law. Page 222, regarding the Immeasurable Meaning Sutra, which preceded the Lotus, the preaching of the Lotus, the record of the orally transmitted teaching says, Nichiren says, the Immeasurable Meanings Sutra serves as an introduction to the wonderful law that's contained, hidden in the depths of the Lotus Sutra, the 28 chapters that Shakyamuni expounded. Therefore, all the 10 worlds from hell, and that's the whole point of him saying all the 10 worlds, is that to say that the lower 3 are just as good as the upper 3 and the last 4, may be regarded as an introduction to Myoho Renge-kyo, because Nam-myoho Renge-kyo exists in each one. The Lotus Sutra introduction, this is the 28th chapter explication, and it's the fact that all chapters are Nam-myoho Renge-kyo. That's why you don't have to recite the 28 chapters anymore. Introduction. The record of the orally transmitted teaching says, if one gives careful consideration to the 4 opening characters of the chapter that represent, this is what I heard, then one can easily understand all the immeasurable meanings of the entire sutra, because you perceive the truth that as you read each chapter of the Lotus Sutra, you are also, this is what I heard, because the only mind that is in play here is your own mind. When you're applying yourself to the text and to the teaching, it's your mind that's being stimulated and escalated. Okay, so this is what I heard, then one can easily understand all the immeasurable meanings of the entire sutra. You can become a Buddha in your present form. This is what is heard is the wonderful truth, which is what the Buddha understands, of the mutual possession of the 10 worlds. The fact that Buddhahood exists even in the lower realms of hell-hungry spirits and animals, and of the inclusion of the 3,000 realms in a single moment of life, which of course is actually an explication that comes along from of the Lotus Sutra's content from Tentai. So because that which is heard is Myoho Renge-kyo, it's Nam-myoho Renge-kyo from the former day of the law and Nam-myoho Renge-kyo from the middle day of the law. That's what both of those things were actually referring to. It means that in the Dharma realm of the wonderful law of the it means that in the Dharma realm of the wonderful law, that's the enlightened nature, the 10 worlds are mutually possessed. So all 10 worlds possess the Dharma body, the Dharma realm. And that the 3,000 realms are clean and pure. In other words, none of them have to go through the purification process that's explained in the 28 chapters. Our 6 sense organs are automatically cleansed and made clean and pure by virtue of our faith and devotion to the Gohonzon chanting Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. The 4 characters, continuing on page 222, the 4 characters permeate the entire sutra from beginning to end. And that's, again, this is what I heard of the 4 characters he's talking about. The meaning behind each and every word and phrase of the 28 chapters of the sutra refers to the hearing of this doctrine as it appears to one's own self. So each time you read it, it's your reading of your own life. And this is summed up in the words, "This is what I heard." You should understand, you're the one that is hearing it. This is you saying, "This is what I heard." All 28 chapters. This thing that is heard is Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, because you're encountering this in the latter day of the law in the 500-year period. So no matter what you're reading Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. That's why this is called, all chapters are Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. That's this finalized portion of the orally transmitted teachings, to clarify to you in your mind, or at least theoretically, to understand there's nothing greater, there's nothing to be added beyond Nam Myoho Renge Kyo in terms of essence. Therefore, the sutra says that all achieve the Buddha way in chapter 1. All achieve, because all already possess the Buddha nature. The 2 words all achieve refers to all the 10 worlds and the 3,000 realms, because all achieve means that all beings attain the Buddha way through the wonderful law. They all attain Buddhahood through Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. Again, the word Buddha refers to the single mind of the individual. The word Buddha refers to the single mind of the individual. Outside of our minds and body, there is no Buddha. That's why he's saying the word Buddha refers to you, because you are a Buddha even though you might not have yet reached the 6th stage of practice and revealed your Dharma body and become aware of it and made it manifest. And to the various minds, of the 10 worlds and the 3,000 realms. Every single stage up to that 6th stage of practice is still me. You are a Buddha. You have not ever changed the essence of your life. It's not something that you attained. It's something that you're in a process of revealing. The word way indicates something that allows one to pass through, and hence it refers to the Buddha way, attaining Buddhahood in your present form. That these various minds of the 10 worlds pass through. We all go through the realities of being born into the Saha world. We are all born into the 9-world phenomenal realm. We manifest and bring forth the innate Buddhahood within us, and that's when we attain the 10th stage of Buddhahood, being a Buddha in reality, the 6th stage of practice. When this happens, then the state characterized as all achieve the Buddha way is manifested. That's how becoming a Buddha in your present form actually manifests. The law underlying the words all, and that means everybody, achieve the Buddha way, is Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. Okay, continuing. I hope you all got that. I'm not going too fast. This is all really pretty clear. If you understand, all it's going to qualify over and over and over again is the fact that all of the content of each of the 28 chapters is Nam Myoho Renge Kyo in essence. Nothing greater, nothing less. Expedient means the record of the orally transmitted teaching says, that's the 2nd chapter of the Lotus Sutra, right? Expedient means. This chapter describes the 10 factors of life. Nyose, so, nyose, sho, nyose, tai, nyose, riki, nyose, sa, nyose, in, nyose, en, nyose, ka, nyose, ho, nyose, hon, matsuku, kyoto. That's what those are the 10 factors. From those 10 factors, Tentai was able to perceive the 10 worlds, which were ultimately the building blocks of the establishment of Ichinen Sanzen, 3,000 realms in a single moment of life. But at that point, only theoretical, because Nam Myoho Renge Kyo had not been revealed yet in the 5th 500-year period by Nichiren. The 10 factors are the 10 worlds, as the enlightened 10th eye was able to perceive. This expedient means refers to the 10 worlds in the 3,000 realms manifested by all phenomena. All phenomena contain the 3,000 realms. Since all of these have already been preceded by the words Myoho Renge-kyo in the title of the chapter, it is stated that in the Buddha lands of the 10 directions, there is only the law of the one vehicle. And you're going, well, I thought that the chapter title was expedient means. What does he mean that it's preceded by the words Myoho Renge-kyo? He's going to explain that. He says, it is stated that in the Buddha lands of the 10 directions, there is only the one law of the one vehicle. And in the latter day, we understand that to be Nam-myoho Renge-kyo. This all comes from chapter 2. This is what the expedient means of the wonderful law, Myoho, the expedient means of the truth of the lotus, Renge, and therefore it is termed secret and wonderful, clean and pure. So again, there's no purification process necessary within the teaching or the manifestation of Nam-myoho Renge-kyo in your life. When you manifest Nam-myoho Renge-kyo through your devotion and chanting Daimoku to the Gohonzon, your 6 sense organs are automatically become clean and pure, and you're now capable of manifesting Buddhahood in your present form. The 5 characters of Myoho Renge-kyo represent the 9th consciousness, the realm where the mind goes for the enlightened entities that have practiced and achieved the 6th stage of practice. Not necessarily people that just had happy thoughts and didn't do the work. You've got to do the work to get to the 9th consciousness. The 9th consciousness is where Buddhas reside in the state of non-substantiality. And that's why I read the whole thing about Risoku versus Kukyo Soku. You don't get to Kukyo Soku just because Risoku was a starting point. And again, this isn't a ladder. This is something that you have to manifest through your own actions. So the 5 characters of Myoho Renge-kyo represent the 9th consciousness, while the expedient means represents the levels from the 8th to the first 5 consciousnesses. They are not a part of the essential teaching. The 9th consciousness is the realm of enlightenment. That's my parrot chirping in the background. Please excuse him. He's happy. The 9th consciousness is the realm of enlightenment, not in theory, in fact. Understand that distinction. He'd love to give you a pass, but you have to gain the pass by doing the work. While the levels from the 8th to the first 5 consciousnesses are the realm of delusion. You still, even though you chant Nam-myoho Renge-kyo, you still see separation. Your Dharma body has not become manifest. Until you can get to that point where all of those differentiations disappear, you can't really qualify yourself to be the Buddha in your present form. Even if you'd like to, even though it seems that may be what the teaching is telling you. That's why I read everything I did about Risoku versus Kukyo Soku and went through the full 6 stages in an explication of what they actually are. From the Japanese, by the way. While the levels from the 8th to the first 5 consciousnesses are the realm of delusion. Since the chapter is titled, and this is where he says since it's preceded, the chapter is titled Myoho Renge-kyo Hobin Pon, the Lotus Sutra of the Wonderful Law, Expedient Means chapter, is what that actually is saying. We start that Myoho Renge-kyo Hobin Pon. That's how we start the 2nd chapter when we do Gongyo, right? This indicates the delusion and enlightenment. That delusion and enlightenment are not 2 different things. They're the single circumstance of your Buddha nature, either being in a state of delusion or having qualified and elevated to the stage of clarity of enlightenment. All right, I'll say it again. This indicates that that delusion and enlightenment are not 2 different things. This means that all the myriad phenomena, all the 3,000 realms, there are none that are not part of the expedient means of Myoho Renge-kyo. That's where the whole concept of Risoku is predicated on. Even those that have never encountered the law have the ability to manifest Buddhahood in their present form. Okay, it's an inherent part of your temporary gathering of the five components that create the living being that you are in the Sahe world living as. Chapter indicates teaching